Hey everyone, welcome to Buick Outdoors. If you're new around here, my name is Sheldon Marion, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing and gear review on the Vevor Woodstove for a hot tent. I picked this thing up off Amazon. It's one of the cheapest ones that you can buy. I believe I bought this one for about $130. And before we do the unboxing, I also want to say that once we are done doing the unboxing and review of what all comes with the hot tent itself, we're also going to go outside and do the initial first burn. So when we get it, it comes in a big box like this. I already cut the tape, so don't have to worry about that. On the inside, you open it up. First things first, you have your little owner's manual. And then inside here is just a big chunk of foam. You can see the little grates that come with this. So what we'll do is we'll kind of squeeze this up. And inside here, you have the stovepipe, some screws, a couple little hose clamps, I'm assuming for connecting your stovepipe together, your little dampener that'll go on the top of your wood stove. Not too sure what this is. Oh, it looks like it's a rain cap for the top of your chimney pipe. We got the gratings for the side. So there's nothing overly too serious there. You have a little bag that comes with it, just to hold your stove because it is a collapsible stove. They also send you a pair of kind of heavy canvas gloves. There's no thumbs on them. Oh, there's the thumb on the side here. Okay, so the thumb is inside out. Anyways, I'm not going to use those. There is a thumb. It's just on the side here. Tricky little buggers. Alrighty, so then we'll continue on here. You got one of the side plates. Another little side plate. Next thing up, we have, it's a heavy aluminum plate that goes on top. It's removable for, I'm assuming, cooking over the fire. Here's the top plate, and this square here, that's where this heavy gauge aluminum plate goes in. It's a little insert. And then this is kind of the base. We'll pull this foam out of the way here. And there we go. So this is the base with fold down legs, and then the front and the back, they stand up, and then we'll be able to put our side plates in. So we'll get this out of the way, and I'll get all this bubble wrap pulled off of everything, and I'll get everything cleaned up, and then we will put this stove together. Alrighty guys, so here we got everything's all kind of cleaned up here a little bit. So we have the base, we have the top here with this little insert, and then over here we also have the two sides. We have the dampener for the top, and this dampener, it's not all the way tight around, so you can see there's quite a bit of room in between. Then we have our little bag of screws, little nuts, Allen key wrench. We have our grill, and then this here is your stovepipe, and all kind of just stacks on top of each other, so it all extends out. With this, we probably won't really mess around with this until we get outside to do the initial burn. But what I'll do is I'll kind of push the majority of this out, so that way we can just check the fit on here. And actually we can do that right now. So it actually sits inside there real nice. Then we also have our spark arrestor / rain cap. that just goes on top. And then these clamps, they're for the stovepipe. When it's all extended, you put these on, and there's nice little wings on here. So you don't need any tools while you're out there. You can just tighten it up by hand, tighten her up. That way, when your stovepipe is all set up, it won't collapse back in on itself. But now that we're here at this point, we will first open up these legs. And they're kind of adjustable in a sense. You can have them straight up and down at a great big angle. But there's also little notches on the bottom here. So my suggestion would be set them up until those are kind of flat on the ground for a nice sturdy base. And it kind of moves, but yeah, once they're fully extended, it doesn't go anywhere. Then here, simply open her up. And with these, you have these little things here that your grill will attach to. So your grill pieces, they go on like that. But for right now, we'll just leave those off. But I'm just showing you that to show you that these need to be on the outside. And it looks like they just simply slide into place. Just like that. That's pretty simple. Do that to this one. There we go. And now to attach our top plate, we have pre-drilled holes. There's two pretty well on each side. And before we actually attach that, maybe what I'll do is I'll take our little dampener here. And you want to line it up to these holes. Try to do it the best I can here. Line it up to these holes like that. And we'll grab our little screws and our nuts, and we'll just tighten these down before we initially install this. That way it's just nice and easy and simple. So we'll grab our little wrench that comes with it. We'll get our Allen key out of the way as well. And then simply, I'm going to take the little screws and I'm going to put them in through the top. We're going to insert our little screws. Now that our screws are on there, simply hold on to it, go underneath, and one by one we'll put our little nuts on the bottom, and we'll just do them finger tight for right now. Okay, so we got all of these in there. They're all finger tight. These screws themselves, they take the Allen key, so we can put that on the top and hold it with your thumb. I'll come in here with the wrench and I can tighten that up, or vice versa. Hold the wrench and use the Allen key here to tighten everything up. And for tightness, honestly, I'm only doing like a couple of inch pounds kind of a thing. I don't think it's really gonna need to be extremely tight whatsoever. So I'll get these all tightened up, and then we'll get back to putting this together. Okay, so we got those all tightened up. Now on the inside of this wood box, or on the outside here, we have these little screws on each corner. And the nuts that they're attached to on the inside, it looks like they're spot welded. So these, they have to come out. And that's on all sides here. Because then what you have to do to put this together is you have to put those back through these holes. And then that'll hold everything nice and tight together. So we'll quickly take these off and then we'll put this top on. Alrighty, so we got all 8 of these unscrewed and taken off. Now what we're simply going to do is we're going to take our top and we're going to put it into place here. And it should all come together. Might have to kind of squeeze it into place, and then we'll be able to finish assembling this. So it's a bit of a tight fit, which is good. You don't want it extremely loose and sloppy on you. If it is, you can have a bunch of air leaks and smoke coming out and you won't be able to control your fire. So it's actually nice to see that it is fairly tight. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go around, and at first I'm just going to put these in just somewhat loose. That way, if it is a little bit cockeyed and out of shape, it won't be kind of buckled on one side or the other. We can just simply slowly tighten everything together all at once. Okay, so we have all these kind of not quite even snug, just the threads have been started and put in 3/4 of the way. So I'll just kind of go around here and tighten everything up now. And again, I'm not really wrenching on it or whatever. It's all just hand tight and then a little snug. Give her one little oomph. So now we got everything pretty well tightened up here. Take our plate, we put it on, and that is our Vevor wood stove all ready to go. One thing I want to mention is this door itself. It actually looks not too bad. When it's closed all the way, right up top here and on the bottom, it does kink out just slightly. There is a little bit of an air gap there, but it is what it is. You're not going to get this kind of cheap, kind of flimsy stuff perfect. Here it's nice and loose, so you're able to control the fire. And when you open it up, this glass plate, it looks like if you break or damage this glass, there's a couple of screws here that you can take out and remove this glass. You can actually replace it. There's also a nice little rope gasket in here as well. So for a cheap little $130 wood stove off of Amazon, I'm assuming came from China, I'm not too sure. So far it actually looks not too bad. Everything went together nice. Everything snugged up. It's not bent or broken or crooked. But yeah, now that we have this all set up, what we'll do is we'll go outside, we'll cut up a little bit of firewood, and we'll get our chimney set up, our rain cap or spark arrestor, whatever you want to call that. We'll get that set up, we'll get these on, and then we'll do our first initial burn, and I'll tell you why we do our first initial burn outside and outside of your tent. So with that all being said, we'll pack this up, go outside, we'll see you outside. Alrighty, so you guys, so we made it outside here, but before we can flash up our stove, all I did was extended the stovepipe out. This all collapses into that one tube that you seen downstairs there in the start of this video. And basically when you extend this out, what you'll feel is that it gets nice and loose, and then if you go too far, it disconnects. But you can simply put it all back together and stack it back up. So basically what I did is I went until I felt that little bit of resistance, and then that's where I'm going to stop it at. That way it'll give me enough stovepipe that's inside the other one where the hose clamp will actually clamp up against both of them. So in that way this doesn't come crashing down on you. And also, if you do end up taking these all apart, it is hard to see, but each one of these is individually stamped. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So with that all being said, I'm going to grab these clamps out of this bag and simply slide them on, and we'll get tightening this all up. So for this first one, I kind of want to just see how much room there is. So if I put my finger here, pull that out, I can see I got about an inch of pipe there. And for me, I feel fairly confident that will be good there. Put this up, and it's pretty simple, straightforward. Turn this till it tightens up, but I don't want to tighten it too much where you start to bend things. I also want to try to keep this kind of as straight as possible. So there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'll just slide these all on. I guess this time from the front all the way down, so there is a clamp at each one of these joints, and then we'll get everything tightened up and pretty well almost ready to go. And there we have it, guys. We got this all clamped up together. Let's see how tall this is. I'm going to put on my toe so I don't dig it into the snow. It looks like it's roughly about 6 feet tall. And now what we'll do is we'll grab this wood stove, we'll put it on the ground, and we'll get this into the wood stove. Okay, so now that we have our wood stove here, it's on a somewhat of a level surface. It's kind of hard right now just because there's so much snow and ice right now. We're kind of in a warm spell, so everything's melting and everything's a little bit wonky. But anyways, it's pretty simple to put this in here. I'll just line it up with everything. And it finds a nice little happy spot, and it'll slide right in. Oh, maybe this here needs to be tightened up a little bit more. Now it's not the sturdiest thing in the world, but so far it looks like it's gonna work. Now before we fire up this stove, I'm gonna grab our little dampener here. I'm gonna open it up, and then we'll get everything going. Okay, so now we're ready to start our fire. We have our dampener here. I'm going to open that straight up and down so it's wide open here. Then you have your draft here. I'm going to open that up. And it's just like starting any other fire. Start off small, work your way big. What I'm going to do for this though is I'm going to put in a couple of sticks on the bottom, because I got one of these little fire starter bricks. And basically I'm just going to light this, put it in between these sticks, and then I'll build kind of like a log cabin on top of the fire. So when you put your sticks down like this, and then you just stagger them all the way up. So we got those two in there. I'll grab my lighter. And basically, these things usually light pretty quick. Then they burn for a good long while. So that's going. Put that in there. I got my smaller sticks. And basically start building my fire. Now when you're doing your first initial burn with these, you don't want to go real hot real fast. You kind of want to do it nice and low and slow. That way you slowly kind of almost cure the metal. And you don't want to get this thing red hot, because then you'll end up warping it as well. But we'll slowly add in some more wood, and as it gets going here, we'll slowly increase the bigger pieces. So we'll let this get going here for a minute, and then we'll check and see how everything is going. So as this is slowly starting to catch on fire here, you can see there might be a couple small little spots of smoke slowly trickling out, but for the most part is drafting very well with the door open. What we can try doing here for a minute, we can close this up. We can adjust our draft so it's not burning as fast, but like I said, you might be able to see those holes right in here. That will create some issues with controlling your fire. But so far, as we sit here and look at it, I'm not seeing much for smoke coming out. Any of these seams, it looks like it's drafting real nice. And it's all coming out the top nice and hot. So anyways, we're going to keep burning this here a little bit longer, and we'll eventually get some more wood in there. So as this is burning, we're starting to get some coals in there now. And you can see the pieces of wood that I'm using. They're all about 12 inches or so. So it's about roughly a 14-inch firebox, which is plenty big size for what we're going to be using it for. This is mainly going to be used in a hot tent in kind of September, October time, and then getting back into kind of March and April up here in the north. And the other months, it's just too cold. And like I said, you want to do this kind of slow and gentle as possible. That way, you just you're initially burning off any oils and stuff that are on here, and kind of curing the metal almost. But if you go too hot, too fast, you'll get this thing glowing red and purple, and it'll discolor and it'll warp everything. So that little bit more firewood in there. Close this up, close up our draft. Our dampener's still wide open, so everything's still going up through the top. And it's working like it should. So as this is heating up, you can really smell the metal warming up. And you can also see some of the color changes that are happening. Right in here, you can see it's turning that slightly darker color. You can see it right here on the chimney as well, and on that side as well there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this burn for a little bit longer, and we'll get this nice and hot, and we'll just make sure everything is all good to go. You can see not even much for smoke because burning so hot. It's just coming out nice and clear up top. And basically, once this is cured and that kind of smell of hot metal goes away, then we'll know that we are pretty well good to go, and then we'll be able to put it into our hot tent. But we're going to let this burn for a little bit longer, and then I'll show you the final end here. So now that we've had this going for quite a while, I have the dampener back there. It's shut. I have the draft shut, and we're actually able to control the fire fairly good. As you can see here, everything's kind of starting to get discolored and kind of heat treat almost. One thing I was talking about at the beginning of the video was this dampener here. How I said it should come off the back, because right there where it's at, if you touch that with your hands right now, it'll definitely burn you. But we got the stovepipe. It's all nice and discolored. It's kind of got that brown tinge to it. up to about here. So the last couple pieces aren't, but it is what it is. One thing too with this rain cap, it has these little guy wires up there, or the tie-offs. The problem with those though is I'm pretty sure if you were to use any kind of rope at all, uh, it'll just melt and potentially burn and create a fire. So if you are going to use these guideline eyes up there, I would highly suggest that you have some sort of a metal clip or something that you can attach to that and then tie your rope off to the metal piece. That way you get a little bit away from that. Otherwise, it'll for sure melt and burn. Like you could touch it, but you can't hold on to it for very long. But anyways, I want to let this slowly burn out and cool down, and then what we'll do is we'll go back inside and I'll give you my final thoughts on this thing. Well, you guys, we made her back into the house here now, and truth be told, it's actually the next day. I wanted to leave this out overnight, just to test out the stovepipe itself, just mainly because last night the wind started to pick up and it was blowing between 20 to 40 kilometers an hour gusts. So, with that being said, the stovepipe actually stayed intact. It didn't collapse on itself and it didn't tip right over. The bottom of the stack, it's all nice and kind of purplish right near the base. And then as you come up here, it almost turns into a slightly copper color almost. So that held up real good. And you can see here the stove itself. You can see the color change, but I never got it red hot. Uh, Even when I choke this thing right down, typically if there's going to be an air leak and smoke starts to come out, is when you close this dampener. But with that gap all the way around this gap, the dampener, it still lets enough flow through your stove pipe itself, so that yeah, there's no smoke coming out. Even the little plate, you can see it's nice and dark now. Uh, but I don't think it warped at all. It was a little tight in here, but that might be just from the buildup of ash on there. And yeah, all in all, so far this has been just a phenomenal little wood stove, especially for 130 bucks. When you compare it to some of the other higher priced ones that are around like that $400 range, uh, they seem to be, some of them are a bit bigger, and the build quality is a bit better. But for this one, for $130, I can't see this being a problem at all. So yeah, I guess the next thing for me to do is to take this out with the hot tent when the wind dies down. Because when we have big wind gusts like that, I really don't want to trust this type of a system in really strong winds. But that'll be a future video. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button down there in the bottom. Leave me a comment or two. Let me know what stoves you're running. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.